Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Yeah, today we work on, my name is Andong, or what's called, why do Germans eat raw pork? And I love raw pork. This is so fucking delicious, but why we eat it, I don't fucking know, but it's fucking delicious. Pork with onion and pepper. Nothing is better for a fresh meal in the morning. So, but before we start this video, don't forget to subscribe my channel and give a like on this video, and don't forget the bell, and follow me on my another social media, and then we'll say, here we go.
Which comes straight out of Germany, and it's called Hackepeterschrippe. And no, I'm not crazy. This is actually one of the most common old school snacks here.
What the heck? Hackepeterschrippe? It's called Mettbrötchen, not Hackepeterschrippe. This is from Berlin. They say Schrippe. But in the rest of Germany, less Bavaria, say to this Mettbrötchen. Come on.
People will even eat it for breakfast. And look, I get it. You're wondering, what psycho eats raw pork before noon? I do, and by the end of this video, you might too. Because today we're answering one big question. Why is Germany the only place on earth where eating raw pork is not just accepted, but a straight up mainstream tradition enjoyed by millions?
Because we can do it. This is the reason. This is the reason. And I'm proud of this. I mean, fucking delicious.
Every day. Let's start with this though. Eating raw meat is certainly not just a German thing. A lot of countries have their own raw meat traditions. Japan's got sashimi, France brings you beef tartare, Italians have carpaccio, South Americans whip up ceviche, and the Middle East offers kibbeh with raw lamb. And that's just to name a few. So what's the deal here? How come the whole world gets a pass on eating raw anything, but when Germans eat raw pork, everybody freaks out? Well,
yeah, this is... I'm honest, I never asked me this question. I know Japanese eat raw fish, but yeah, you say in sashimi or what's called, but there nobody freaks out. But in German, you eat raw pork? Oh my fucking goodness! But it's so delicious. I'm hungry right now again because of
history
that.
And biology have a lot to do with this. As humans, we learned over centuries that some meats are riskier to consume raw than others, chicken and pork being on top of that list. Before we even knew that these meats were simply more likely to be host to dangerous parasites.
And yes, this could be the reason. If you think in the Islam or by the Jewish or by the Jews, they don't eat raw pork because religious. But if I remember right, so in the past, the cultures eat raw pork, and this raw pork was not good because refrigerators was not a thing at this time, so they killed by eating raw pork. It's my take on this.
Or bacteria like salmonella, we already taught each other to stay out of harm's way, and this wisdom got passed down from generation to generation. You know the drill. Pork in particular has been deemed unclean and impure by entire religious communities like Judaism and Islam. That's why most of us grew up knowing that if we don't fully cook our chicken or pork, we're probably gonna spend a very long and uncomfortable night in the bathroom. But would we really? The truth is, if pigs are raised in a clean, healthy, controlled environment, and the meat is then handled and stored within the safe temperature, which is below 4 degrees Celsius, all the way from slaughter to consumption, that is, the risk of anything nasty happening is actually extremely low. Millions of not...
Yes, but if you think in the religion, and religion exists longer than 1 year, the religion is implemented because of the time of I don't fucking know, Julius Caesar or something else. The situation was what I said for a couple of minutes, not a really thing, and then they died on bacteria like Sumner or what pronounced. I don't fucking know.
Dead Germans should be proof that in fact raw pork can be just as safe to consume as that fancy sashimi you paid $30 for last week. Speaking of sashimi, by the way, there are parts of Japan where chicken sashimi, called torisashi, is actually a thing. Yes, you heard me right, raw chicken sashimi. They get away with this because of
And this, ironically, this I find a little bit crazy, but technically it's the same concept than we have here in Germany.
Very strict hygiene standards, the use of special breeds, and extremely fresh preparation. In addition to that, very careful handling and only using specific cuts of the chicken that are less prone to bacterial growth, like the inside of a chicken breast, minimize but don't actually fully eliminate the risk of contamination through salmonella and things like that, which is very likely why it always has been and still remains a very niche delicacy. But when it comes to eating raw pork, we have Germany, where this type of Hackepeterschrippe is
It's called Mettbrötchen, not Hackepeterschrippe.
but niche. In fact, it's as mainstream of a snack as you can possibly imagine. Heck, it's even a cultural cornerstone of German food if you ask me. So let's talk about it. This ready-to-eat raw pork is actually called mett over here. The word mett is a very old German word, originally meaning something like meal or food in general. It's actually also the root of the English word meat. But over time, in modern German, it narrowed specifically to mean lean, ground, raw pork. And while today mett is mostly eaten raw, it hasn't always been like that. Just over 100 years ago, people...
What? These are sinners. These are
would
sinners.
cure, dry, and smoke their mett to make Mettwurst, which is a mett sausage, and it still exists today. It looks a little something like this,
This is
and
okay.
I think we can give it a try.
Never mind, it's
so
okay.
this is a classic
Mettwurst is delicious.
Mettwürstchen, or a little mett sausage. Let's snap it open. You can tell the inside looks kind of raw, but because it's cured and smoked, we can actually eat this raw. Very well seasoned, nice and smoky, which I appreciate because I love smoked shit, and just a great overall snack. But that is not actual fresh raw pork. So let's leave that behind and get back to our question. When and why did Germans start eating raw mett? We're almost at the answer, but first I want to share a message from this video's sponsor. I have a trip to France coming up later this year, and that made me want to cook something French. But as I was trying to pronounce the names of the dishes in my favorite French cookbook, I realized that I pretty much forgot everything I ever knew about the language in high school. But that is about to change, thanks to the sponsor of this video, Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone uses an immersive approach that mimics the way we naturally learn languages. I'm reading real stories, participating in realistic dialogue, and listening to actual native speakers. All of that really helps me practice my listening and comprehension skills in a fun and engaging way.
Yeah, this is definitely better because if I speak German to English speaking native and I'd say Guten Tag, wie geht es dir? Oder correctly pronounces Guten Tag, wie geht es Ihnen? Not how German talks like this. I mean, maybe some Germans talk like talk like this, but yeah, they are mostly what I say humans with the pain there.
Some languages, getting the phonetics right is actually the trickiest part, but Rosetta Stone has a tool that checks my pronunciation, and that is a true game changer. Let me show you.
Je pense que les mathématiques sont un sujet intéressant.
Il pense que les mathématiques sont un sujet intéressant. Ils pensent que les mathématiques sont un sujet intéressant. With lessons that fit into my
What the
busy
fuck
schedule, I
is
can practice French
French?
whenever I have a few minutes to spare. Whether I'm on the train or on the couch
Oh, like
after a long
French.
day, Rosetta Stone is there with me. For anyone out there who dreams of mastering a new language, Rosetta Stone's lifetime subscription is a fantastic offer. For my viewers, which is you, there's an exclusive discount of over 60% on the All Languages lifetime subscription package. It's a lifetime of language learning at your fingertips. Click the link in the video description to start your language journey with Rosetta Stone. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone, for
Looks-
sponsoring this
looks
video.
good.
All right, now let me remind you that eating raw pork safely requires two things. First, very strict food safety regulations. But let's face it, this is something us Germans have always been very good at.
Yeah, yeah. We have safety regulations for safety regulations. I mean, come on. This is the German thing you can think. Like, besides the Autobahn, but
Just check the German laws on selling minced meat and you will know exactly what I mean. For example, if you're trying to sell mett for raw consumption, it very crucially has to be minced on the day of sale because bacteria on meat grows mostly on the surface, and once you mince meat, there's just a lot of surface area. And through this entire process, all the way from slaughterhouse to table, the meat has to be refrigerated impeccably, which requires the second important thing: cooling technology. Cooling in general shaped the modern food industry like nothing else. And once it became widely accessible here in Germany some 100+ years ago, it technically made consuming raw pork viable. It's just that nobody was doing it, so somebody just had to start doing it. And for that, we gotta travel back in time to Berlin in the early 1900s. Look, when people think of German food, they mostly conjure up
not Bavaria. Please, this is not
images
Germany.
of Bavarian food like pretzels and Weisswurst. But Berlin has its very own historic food culture, though much less glamorous. I went down a rabbit hole reading these two incredible books, which I'm gonna link below.
Yeah.
And they talk about Berlin's very modest, very humble, very unphotogenic cuisine, but damn does it have character. We got things like meatloaf and cream, eggs in mustard sauce, beer-braised carp, potato soup, you know, that kind of stuff. Today, Berlin is a very cosmopolitan city, and these dishes have sort of faded into obscurity because people enjoy all the delicious international foods they can have today, which I kind of get, but which is also a shame because some of these sound like amazing meals. But what matters for us today is that among these old school Berlin dishes are a few extremely
I was called, my mom came actually from Berlin. Königsberger Klopse. Delicious. Guys, this is so delicious.
simple ones that made up Berlin's original tavern culture. They were the bar snacks of Berlin in the 1900s. And one of those snacks, you guessed it, Hackepeterschrippe. Hackepeter refers to fresh mett that has been seasoned with just salt, pepper, and diced white onions, sometimes topped with a few slices of pickle. Weirdly, Hackepeter translates to chopped Peter, which, don't worry, I think Peter is fine. This name doesn't really mean anything. It's just that back then we also had dishes like Strammer Max, Tight Max, or Stolzer Heinrich, Proud Henry, which these names didn't ever mean anything. It was just a marketing trend to give very simple dishes these kind of fancy, funny, weird names.
Or in other words, great marketing ideas.
Now, according to both these books, Hackepeter can actually be traced to one particular pub in Berlin that started serving the dish in 1903. You gotta know that back in the day, there was a little bit of competition between these pubs because they were trying to win over customers by offering these fancy, funny, creative snacks. What remains a little bit of a mystery to me is why people were so ready to accept eating raw mett back in the day all of a sudden, but my theory is that there were two major reasons. First, they were already familiar with virtually the exact same stuff in cured sausage form. And second, Hackepeter was often called
Oh yeah, so this is technically nothing new, and Germans hate new things, so yeah, it's possible this eventually never change, and what's been there, and it's technically the same thing, so yes, possible.
poor man's tartar, as in beef tartar. And with French food being the undisputed #1 for Europe's rich and famous back then, I feel like getting a little taste of that fanciness for a lot less money and at your local bar was a pretty solid offering. Either way, that one Berlin pub that supposedly came up with the dish, well, it closed over a century ago, so we're not going there today, but their new viral snack, well, that certainly thrived. Just a few decades later, Hackepeter went from trend to tradition. Eating raw mett or making a little Hackepeter sandwich was so convenient that it became a household staple about as quickly as refrigerators did.
Oh, yes.
And
I mean, we have not food bar. It's called in our grocery store or something else. We have I call it bars. Are not really bars, but in this case, it's the best description for this. Who's fresh meat and fresh fever mett is part of this.
with Germans' love for pork, it just never went away. In fact, this brings us to possibly the darkest chapter in all of German food history. In the 1970s, Germany hit peak mett and committed one of the worst culinary atrocities ever. We invented the Mettigel, the raw pork hedgehog. Are you confused? Because you should be. Watch closely, because I'm going to show it to you once
You think what's coming, but
and then never again. Viewer discretion is advised. Here it is in all its glory, and I'm truly sorry you had to see this. People actually thought raw pork sculptures were cool back in the day. And while I like to think that opinions have shifted, people still make Mettigel to this day. They're kind of doing it ironically, like as a joke, but it's the type of joke where you're not sure if it really is a joke because people are enjoying it a little bit too much. Looking at you, Matt Damon. Anyway, if you visit an old school German tavern or hit an old school German breakfast place, chances are you'll still be able to order a Hackepeter Schrippe or Mettbrötchen, as most of Germany outside of Berlin calls it. But you can also easily make it yourself. Schrippen or simple white bread rolls are available all over Germany. We just gotta slice them in half and we'll be good to go. Most butchers or grocery store meat counters will have Hackepeter.
Yes, the butchery store. We have butchers in a grocery store.
In Germany,
so,
which by law must be ground that day and is usually, but not always, pre-seasoned with salt, pepper, and onions. I actually prefer eating it straight out of the fridge, not necessarily for food safety concerns, but just because I feel that the texture of Hackepeter is much nicer when it's cold. If your mett is unseasoned, or you just like it a little bit more flavorful, you can add extra salt, pepper, and freshly diced onions. I know there are big debates over whether it's a good idea or not to add butter to your Hackepeter Schrippe. I am firm.
I make both. I eat both. With butter and without butter, so I don't really give a fuck about it.
On the pro-butter side of this debate, a lot of people will tell you this is heresy, but I say you do you. Now let's add some
I agree
mett.
with it.
A lot of people like to go for a lot of mett here, basically adding an entire patty's worth of mett. But
What? So less on this, on the Brazilian? So less? Dude, you make 100% more of this.
me personally, I like doing a modest amount. I think it tastes much, much better this way.
Sinner, you are a sinner. You are a sinner. You make double it, minimum. Double it.
Not more than that, actually, in my book. Let's do a
What? So it? Sinner, double it. You must double
bit
it.
of salt. Now I want to add some extra pepper, but I'm very bad at doing it with one hand. Some diced onions,
Leighton.
very importantly. There's also a debate over topping your Hackepeter Schrippe with little slices of pickle, but I personally like to not do that because
No bacon on the mett protein. No. If you do it, you're more than a sinner. You're a
I
fucking
feel like the
devil.
pickle overpowers the very delicate taste of the meat. But if you really like pickles, I'd rather suggest eating one on the side, basically like a palate cleanser between bites and not
Yes,
putting
this is
it
okay,
on
but
the
not
sandwich
on
itself.
the thing.
So there you have it, as simple as it
Don't put the pickle on the mett protein. Don't do it. It's a sin.
possibly could be a good old classic Hackepeter Schrippe. L'chaim. I'm gonna savor this moment. You know, truly, a lot of times, the simplest things are the best. Right in this moment, I'm a very happy man. After eating this, I just want to reaffirm that you should definitely not skip the butter. I repeat, do not skip the butter. It's amazing. The raw pork, it's very refreshing. It's delicate. It's mild. That's also the reason I really like it cold, because it kind of highlights that freshness. Every element of this dish has a place. The salt enhances the natural flavors. The pepper helps to mellow out the raw edge of the meat. The onions add sharpness and a little juicy crunch. This might be the simplest snack in the world, but at least for me, it's also one of the best. It just works.
Yes.
Look, if you want to try this, and I think you want to because you've watched this video past the Mett Eagle, so I think your tolerance to raw pork is pretty high now. Just go talk to your local trusted butcher and maybe have him grind some fresh pork for you, some high quality fresh pork, and give it a shot. It's just really good. Thank you so much for watching. In the next video, we'll be eating raw giraffe and rhinoceros. No, of course we will not be doing that, but thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.
Okay, this dude have a good taste of food. So, this was a great video, and yeah, give them a like. I do it right now, dream through, and the things too, and yeah, don't forget, links in the description, and see us in the next video.